Just moving on a bit, let's see where we go now. This is a very brief summary of it. After 97, above all after 97, and what I always emphasise here is, you look at the modern economy, you think, right, this is a description of it, but it's only really true over the last 10 or 12 years. USA mainly imports goods, China exports them. In the USA, consumption is driven by consumer debt. In China, 4 out of 10 yuan earned by Chinese factory workers goes in their bank. They don't spend it, they don't borrow, they don't have credit cards. Okay? National debt, massive in the USA, 10 trillion now after the bailouts, but it was 5 trillion beforehand. National surplus in China. China has 2 trillion worth of holdings of American debt. And finally, weirdly, you might not believe this, if you know, despite all the factories set up in the Far East and in India by American and British companies, America imports capital because the savings of Asian people, Japanese, Chinese, Indonesian, get transferred by the finance system to America to fund what? Cheap loans to working class people in Detroit so they can buy cars. Okay. And click it on a bit. Again, some stunning graphs. There's the US trade deficit with the rest of the world. 5 times again, in quintuples in a decade. Next one. There's China's dollar reserves. They're holding on to US dollar assets, mainly in the form of US government debt, 10 times in a decade. Keep going. This is Martin Wolf's famous quote. As a result, capital flows uphill, basically, from the world's poor to the richest country of all. And as I say in my book, which is coming out next month, The Economist in 2002 said, that's the only copy in existence, the Economist said, and hey, I don't know if you remember it, the houses that saved the world. The house prices, all this that I've been describing was benign, you know, steady growth, no boom and bust, and actually, you know, it was all great. And I basically say it was poor people who saved the world, poor Chinese people who lent all their money to Americans, and then as we'll now see, poor Americans who came up with the most stunning money-making operation ever for American finance capital. Let's move it on. Quick recap. Low interest rates, oversupply of savings in Asia equals the ability to have rising debts on a massive scale for people and companies in the USA. 2001, the dot-com bubble bursts, and people say, well, what do we do? Where is the next big money-making operation? Because it isn't going to be in floating new, you know, Linux companies, which is what it was in 2001, companies that sell free software. What's it going to be? Asset-backed securities come along, and that is the idea of credit bundled up and you can speculate with it. But what the problem was is they had a shortage of, see look, if you're going to make a lot of money in the finance system, you need high-risk people. If I want to make a lot of money down at 8-up races, I need to put £100 on a 50-to-1 horse. Okay? So I need to find a 50-to-1 horse. I'm not interested in a 2-to-1. Okay? Where do you find 50-to-1 people? And the answer, a bit among that kind of people, a bit among that kind of generation who prepare to, you know, a bit risky in terms of lending to them, but above all, among that kind of people. People who live in the inner cities of America's poor, black, Hispanic and working class areas. Let's keep moving. Just give you an example. So basically, high-risk mortgages, or so-called subprime mortgages, were what they decided would be the next big thing after .com. In Detroit, Michigan, in 2004, 3/4 of all new mortgages were subprime. 2007, 65,000 homes repossessed in the city and 1 in 5 homes empty. We buy homes for cash is a sign I saw when I went to the black area of Detroit. I mean, it really is a terrible, terrible blight. Now, interestingly enough, of course, it's a whole part of the other story, the social justice story, is that about 2/3 of all black and Hispanic people who were offered these mortgages could have got an ordinary mortgage. They were just pushed at them by companies who earn high profits from the mortgages. So then, to finish this, to complete the story, let's have it black and white. I think you can see it. This is the house price growth and fall in America since the last 10 years. It grows by 20%. This is not 20% growth, this is 20% a year growth by around about then 2004. And then now, it's now falling by 20% a year. And it's still falling. That's one bubble gone. This is the next bubble. Oh no, we come to this. I always use this example because in 1992 there's a great episode of The Simpsons where Krusty the Clown loses a lot of money. He appears on television and he says, "You people are pigs, I'm going to spit in every 50th burger." And Homer, just watching on television, I don't know if you remember the episode, goes, "I like those odds." And that's how people reacted to when the housing market went down. They thought, well, you know, Ben Bernanke famously said, "This won't affect the rest of the economy." This is in 2005. It won't matter. They thought it was only 1 in every 50 burgers, that some, i.e. the bad loans to these kind of poor people in the inner cities that went bad unexpectedly. But it wasn't. Somebody had actually spat in the bin spat. I know it's a distasteful simile, but that's what had happened. Okay? So let's move on. And we see what happens to the bubbles. That's the house price bubble. Bang. The next bubble that comes along is the Dow Jones. See, the Dow Jones keeps rising, even as... So the share price rise, and remember there's a 20% magnitude here, it's till then, that is October 2008. And finally, and madly, to complete the story, commodities go mad. So a third bubble, as exemplified by the oil price, and that is in proportion, that is the oil price. It rises to 147, 140 is wrong, 147. At the very end. What you've got here, I describe it like this. If you've ever seen an experiment, again, a bit of a distasteful kind of image. If you've ever seen an experiment where a rat is in a cage and they turn the oxygen on, start running around trying to get out. And what you've got here is the pressures, these bubble pressures within the world economy, going, right, oh, the housing bubble's over, where do I go? Right, into the stock market. Right, that's falling. Where do I go? Oh, into commodities. And it's a no-win situation, and eventually it just runs out. And all three things have collapsed. The oil price, the markets, and the house prices. That is why I argue. You know, if anybody says to you, is this as bad as 1929? That is a concatenation of bad economic news that I would argue is worse than 1929. And we haven't even seen the end of it. Let's move on. Cost of the credit crunch, trillion written off by banks. This is an old presentation, it's probably more now, because the UK one that happened this week and last week, that's another about $1 billion really that we are taking on there. But a trillion written off, a trillion more to come, say the experts, 12 trillion in global bailouts. Now this is not all spent money, it's